Yeah, it worked.
Super.
Okay. So good evening, Pete.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for being here, for participating on this study.
No worries.
So you are a friend of Jamie, or
Yeah, so Jamie Engel, is that how we got connected?
yeah?
I must admit, I didn't have a chance to kind of go back and have a look at how we got connected and all that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. So yes, I've known Jamie for years and years. He's a good friend.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's my professor now. He's teaching me. Like he taught me one trimester already. This is the second one.
Yeah,
It's nearly the last one, so the next one will be the last one. So yeah, pretty excited for that.
no,
And at the moment, I'm doing my final project. I'm going to start with my background. My background is in architecture, and now I'm doing this master in design. So the
nice.
idea is to do something like a co-working space that have full accessibility for people with disabilities,
Love
and
it.
be something very like open to as much as like as many people as possible.
Yeah,
And if I can, do you mind sharing like a little bit about yourself first? Like,
yeah, sure. Yeah, so I actually used to be a landscape architect back in the day.
nice.
But for the last 20 years, basically been working in the disability sector. I currently work for an organisation called Cerebral Palsy Alliance, and am one of the management team that looks after uh, essentially kind of tech venturing. So we're helping to support startups that are building technology in the disability, aging, health space, and we are really trying to help at the early stages of commercialization for startups. So we've done that across 48 companies so far, and we invest a little bit of money. We run them through kind of a commercialization support program. And we also run things like design challenges and designathons,
It's amazing.
and other kind of supports for early stage tech companies.
So yeah, so it's more related to tech things, more like maybe apps or like something something things
Yes,
more
yes and no. Like
digital.
we've yeah, we I guess a number of our kind of core DNA is around uh, universal design, co-design, human-centered
Mm-hmm.
design. And so all of these kind of concepts are part of the DNA of what we do and what we believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And we essentially believe that in the future, we've got so many incredible technologies and that are ubiquitous in our lives that actually were first designed for disability. Speech to text, text to speech,
Yeah.
even the internet, text messages, all these things were first designed in the disability space, but they've become ubiquitous for everyone. And so
Mm-hmm.
we see that if we use the lens of disability to design with, that we can potentially be creating better design for everyone. So yes, while we're focused on technology, we have kind of a broader remit, I guess, around kind of encouraging inclusive design as well.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is, like, as we all know, like this kind of problems, like it's very, very big. So it's hard to solve something big like that.
Mm,
Um, the idea that I was coming up is basically to try to help in these 8 hours of the day that someone has to go to work, and I did
yeah.
a lot of research, and I saw that there's a lot of platforms that they get a lot of entrepreneurs together, people with disability that are entrepreneurs. And then I was curious about them, and then I start to look for the address of where they were living to see if they were working somewhere. Everyone working from home. So
Yeah,
then I was
100%.
like, that was another interesting thing to be like, well, maybe if they have this co-working space that they can actually access, you know, because, and then I made a research about how having this co-working space, especially for entrepreneurs, is good because you kind of create a connection. I know that there is this platform that kind of does that as well, but I believe that in person will always have this different effect,
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. Yeah.
And yeah, basically this is kind of being what I'm going through. Jamie
And
has told me.
so, yeah. So what's the, I guess, what's the, what are the things that you're seeing as the main differences between kind of a regular co-working space? There's lots of those obviously out there, and what you see that disabled entrepreneurs need.
So what I'm seeing is basically to start with the space of things. Sometimes like most of these spaces that are quite small, especially for moving around, you know. I do need to research more about different type of disabilities, because when I say that, kind of the first thing that comes in my mind is more about wheelchair. Like, I do need to research more about other types and how I'm gonna help to, like, you know, being open to everyone, as many people as possible. But yeah, like I know that there are, like I was talking with Jamie and he said like, well, instead of you doing like a project, you could do something like a platform or something like a prototype that helps designers or architects to build these spaces with like all the accessibility, you know. But I really wanted to just create something, at least a prototype, out of scratch, you know.
Are you back?
Oh. Yes. That was
I think I can hear, but yeah, lost your video. That's fine.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. But yeah, basically it's like that, you know, and then
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you. I just can't see you, but I can hear you. My internet is bad. Let me. Yeah, I can see you again.
Yeah, I can hear you again.
Okay, let me.
No, I've got you back again.
Okay. So.
But I don't. I think the recording stopped. That's the only thing. So you might want to hit record again.
Yeah, let me just check one thing.
Oh no, it still says it's recording.
Yeah, it's still saying that it's recording. I think
just
in
had
the
a
end
message
it's
to
gonna...
say recording stopped, but yeah, it might have just been yeah. So I mean, a couple of thoughts so far. One,
For God's sake.
there's some challenges around that.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to think about as well is how people work as well. So, for instance, you know, a lot of engineers who are part of startups, there's a high proportion of engineers who are neurodiverse, and so sometimes they prefer working in very quiet environments, sometimes not very well lit environments as well. So if it's a space that's allowing for the neurodiverse community, then there might be kind of you know, areas that are quieter and darker, not as well lit. And then kind of thinking through kind of navigation around spaces, booking of kind of how do you navigate the community as well. So then thinking about how does someone who is blind or has low vision, how do they access the space? So using kind of some of these as, I guess, parameters to think about as you design spaces, I think could be an interesting thing. And something that, because I agree, like I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't see too many people who are disabled accessing these spaces. And I say, well, is it a welcoming space for them? You know,
Exactly.
does it cater to their needs? Does it, is it a space where they can understand it and wayfind in it? Is it a space that makes sense to them? So, because all these things are really important for us to feel at home in a space, right? And so, yeah, I kind of push back to people who say, well, I don't see very many disabled entrepreneurs. And I say, well, are we creating the environment for them as well? So,
Exactly.
yeah, just a couple of thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like there's still, I know there's still lots of research. I've made a few other interviews as well. In the others interviews that I've made, I kind of had like a script, but I didn't even read the script with you because it's like some of the questions are very basic, you know.
That's okay. You can revisit that if it's helpful for you. Because I know you probably have some. Make sure you cover certain areas as well.
Yeah. No, but basically, I think that and then it was something like a feedback from Jamie as well. He was like, yeah, but you need to get more of the insights, like more of the, you know, like a few ideas and what this person is interviewing, you know. So more like a conversation, not only like just a question answer.
Have you, when's this all due as well?
By the end of next month.
Okay. Oh,
I still have a
end of
month.
August?
So, yeah.
So I've got a crazy idea for you. Okay. So we run something called a designathon. It's a 4-week, very, very part-time. So it's about probably 5 to 8 hours a week for 4 weeks. But you have the opportunity of interacting with a whole bunch of young people. And one of the, so we give you opportunity to interview young people, co-design something with them, and actually kind of pitch it at the end of those 4 weeks. And you can potentially win prize money. There's $10,000 of prize money up for grabs. So, so if you could pull together a small team, and I'm even talking 1 or 2 other people to work with you, you could put in application for our designathon, and you get all this other kind of support services. It goes through kind of a design thinking process. We give you a whole bunch of tools to kind of do with it, and it's a really fun experience as well. So we've been running it for about, I don't know, since 2014, I think was the first one we ran.
Really? So, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe would you mind sending me that on my email? Do you have?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I'll send you some info about it. And yeah, we sent some stuff out today, including a winner that came through last year. They've just come through our accelerator program, so they got another $75,000 worth of investment from us with the idea that they actually
so
won
it's kind of like you win if your idea wins the best idea of a project.
That's it.
Like that.
Yeah.
I think that in the first period that I studied with Jamie, he talked about this kind of things as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great way of kind of putting some ideas forward, testing them, getting feedback on them. I think it'll you know, it's a little bit of time. It's not a big amount of time, but it's a really great way of kind of, I think, testing and validating some of your hypothesis.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you so much. That's great. I'll definitely have a look into it. Yeah. And just as a final thoughts, let's say, you gave me many good insights here. I made. Sorry if I was looking down. I was always making some notes.
Good.
In my phone, I'm like in the bus and making notes. It's like, but how can I say? Because it's hard to make a question like, do you think it's a good idea? But basically, that's what I always want to do with Jamie. I'm like, tell me.
Tell me the answer.
Tell me the answer.
You know, he's doing the right thing by saying, no, go and and discover, or go and
Yeah,
find it, you know.
exactly.
But go ahead and
Yeah,
ask the question.
I'll continue. Like, yeah, I feel that I still have to do some more research, especially about like how it's gonna be built, and thinking, considering the universal design, and considering like what I'm gonna do about other type of disabilities and all that.
Mm,
The one thing that I thought was like, and this was because of other interviews, I want this co-working space to be like open for everyone, not only for people with
mm,
disability. And
mm,
then, but I believe that for everyone will be like just a normal co-working space, basically.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then for people with disability, for to call their attention, the idea was like making some partnerships with some entrepreneur courses for people with disability. They have courses in UTS and other places, you know.
yeah.
Maybe just to have like people interested about, or maybe like a, I don't know, some trainings in there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you do design a space that people love, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
love, not
Yeah.
just like,
Mm-hmm.
um, they'll want to be there, right? Like if they can derive value from that space, then
Mm-hmm.
they'll want to be there. And I think you know, there's a reason why a whole bunch of people work from home, right? Because they have all the supports they need in that space. They feel at
Yeah.
home, but it's missing the key thing that you talk about, which is like that community and collaboration side of things as well.
Yeah.
So how can you bring a safe space around community and collaboration? And we saw it during the pandemic as well, right? Like, because there was people with some people with disability have been calling for flexible working so that they can work from home for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always told, no, you can't do it because there's too much risk. You know, you might go home and not do any of the work. You might injure yourself at home, and then we've got a workers' comp claim. There's all these other things that were kind of given as excuses. And then the pandemic hit, and
Yeah.
within 2 weeks, we all changed and went, everyone can work at home,
Everyone. Yeah.
and it's fine, it's easy. So this very thing that people with disability have been asking for a really, really long period of time, all of a sudden happened. So we had this kind of seismic shift in the way that that we think about work. And I think that we can use the inspiration of disability to push that envelope even further, and to kind of think even more inclusively, even more like, how do we think about, because now we've got the opposite problem, right, of everyone wants to work from home, they don't want to actually go back into the offices.
Yeah.
But we're losing the collaboration piece, we're losing kind of the opportunity to, you know, how do you grow culture when you're, you know, everyone is at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we've got this opportunity right now to actually redesign the workspace of the future so that it's not only better for people with disability, but better for everyone. But use the idea of disability. We use that idea of disability to be able to find those new solutions. So we go to the, you know, the it's how we use the edges, and I'm using that in not a derogatory sense, but in a we only kind of in the past designed for the middle 50th percentile, and a few people kind of outside of that. How do we go to the edges of kind of extreme use? So people who are wheelchair users, people who don't have speech. How do we go to those that are blind or have low vision? How do we go to them and go, how do we build this so that it's actually really, really accommodating to you? And I think what we'll actually find is that it's a better co-working space for everyone, right? So, and it's about not necessarily having one size that fits all, but maybe there's zones, maybe there's, you know, there's different ways of kind of thinking about periods of time, for instance. You know, some people with disability, they kind of, they actually, because of pain, chronic pain, they might get tired kind of at later times during the day. So how do we think about what you're doing right now of the transition kind of between work and home as an extension of the workplace? Like, how do we kind of, use that idea of disability to force us to think in a different way about, you might have this kind of, transitional space of kind of between work and home that can be utilized. I don't know, like, and I don't have the solutions. I don't know the answers to all of those things. But do you know what I mean? It's using the idea of that. Yeah. It's using that idea of extreme users to be able to go, okay, well, what would work? What would be the best co-working space for someone who is completely blind? What would be an absolutely brilliant co-working space for someone who doesn't have speech, who uses a communication device to communicate? I don't know, but
I
like,
don't
I
have
think
those
we can
answers
discover
as well, but that's the challenge, I guess, right?
That's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
But so what we can make available to you is some people who do have lived experience of that, and to be able to at least kind of interview them and be able to talk to them and be able to, because we've got investors in the States that are saying to me, help us create the workplace of, future of work. How do we use disability as the impetus to think about the future of work? We'd love to create a co-working space at some stage as well. So I'm interested in what you're doing, so
like now at the moment, I'm gonna finish this project by the end of the year, only around November, December. So for now, it's probably gonna be more prototype, but later I'm sure it's gonna be much better. Like,
yeah. That's good, right? Like that's the way to do it. I mean, it was going to be a push to get it all done at the end of August, but I think you can at least kind of come to have some concepts or some ideas, or as you say, like some early stage prototypes of what that is. And that's what we encourage people to do during the design-a-thon process. We give you, a bunch of tools around that stuff as well. So I'll definitely send you some info about the design-a-thon after this.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we're almost done with our time as well.
No worries,
and my bus stop is nearly there.
No worries. Well, it's been great chatting to you, and hopefully we'll get to chat again soon.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm looking forward for your email.
Will do. No, I'll do it. I'll send it now.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Awesome.
I'm
You
gonna
too,
stop
Lauren.
the
See you.